everybody, this is Oliver from Neo, and today we are going to do a special thing, and it is we're gonna take a look at the single cultivar of 1T that we have in our assortment. Maybe some of you might know that we launched recently the so-called Cultivar Sencha. This is this tea here. It is actually a tea which is made of a blend, or it's a blend of 8 different cultivars, so green tea plant types. And what we asked the farmer is actually what are the main cultivars, so the main tea plant types of this tea, and we wanted to have a look at them one by one. And what we found out that actually these 3 main types, which is the Samidori, which is the Okomidori, and which is the Asanoka, are kind of by themselves very good cultivars. So we decided not only to launch the Cultivar Sencha, but also to launch the 3 main cultivar teas of these, or kind of the blend of the Cultivar Sencha. So we have now a Sencha Samidori, we have a Sencha Okomidori, and we have a Sencha Asanoka. So this, what we want to do is to dive now into the taste of these 3 cultivars and see what the difference is and how they are specially or special in their own characteristics. So for this I brought 5 grams of each tea. So number 1 we have the Samidori, number 2 we have the Asanoka, and number 3 we have the Okomidori. So we place the Okomidori here, the Asanoka in the middle, and the Samidori on the right, and we're gonna use the same temperature of water, and we're gonna use the same quantity of water for all of them. 5 grams of each tea, which I will now put into each kyusu. So here in the middle, as I said, we're gonna use the Asanoka, and on the very right we're gonna use the Samidori. So what is special about these cultivars? When we go one by one, when we take the Samidori, this is one of the fastest growing cultivars in Japan. That's why it is also considered as one of the priciest ones. What is special is that the Samidori plant is by itself a little bit more delicate to grow, so it needs to grow in protected or kind of wind safe and also frost safe environments. On our visit to the farm of Mr. Masuda, what we had, for example, is that the Samidori was closer to the forest and a little bit elevated in terms of where the plants were situated, to have less wind, and it was also the warmer region of the whole tea area or cultivation area of the farmer of Mr. Masuda. So quite a delicate one. What is really liked by the Japanese about this cultivar is that they actually consider it as one of the sweetest and one of the umami richest cultivars. So people tend to like it for its strong umami taste, which is looked after, especially with the higher grade senchas or higher grade gyokuros. There the umami is the richest. And Samidori has proven itself to be one of the strongest and one of the best cultivars, but also by the fact that it grows very fast. So in the springtime, it is one of the earliest available on the market, which is also a very important indicator for the Japanese. And then second one is Asanoka. This is actually a cultivar which I kind of found over time, seeing it appear in different blends, but I was never sure what this cultivar is actually like. It's a later cultivar, so and it's not so popular. Also the price is lower, so it's a slower growing cultivar, but therefore it has a little bit more of a body, and it also has a slight cereally taste, which I will dive into later when we go to the taste aspect, but not a very well-known cultivar in kind of outside or in the tea world. You often talk about Yabukita, you talk about Okomidori maybe, you talk about Samidori, Asatsuyu you also hear about, but the Asanoka itself is a cultivar which I only kind of discovered this year or late last year by seeing it in several blends as an additional cultivar mixed into the tea. And then the last one is the Okumidori. Is one tea or one tea breed I personally like a lot as a matcha. So, for example, the Washimine matcha, which we carry, is one matcha which is a single cultivar Okumidori matcha. This tea is also less famous, so around 1% of the whole tea cultivation in Japan is Okumidori. It is also a slower growing cultivar, so also for being early in the Shincha season, so in the spring season, first harvest season, it is a later growing cultivar, so not so interesting. But what I realized is also that this tea has a lot of smooth, a full bodiness, and a lot of sweetness, and very little of astringency with it. And compared to the Samidori, it just has a little bit of a more kind of a rounder taste profile, while the Samidori is a very light sweetness. The Okumidori really tends to show a very full and a kind of a settled body. And this is why I personally have a kind of a thing for the Okumidori. I like this cultivar pretty much. So let's dive directly into it. So let's brew these 3 teas with the same water temperature, with the same water amount. So 1 and 2 and 3. Got here some more water. To have the same amount in each tea. And voila. Good. Very good. So we're going to leave it in for just 1 minute, and then we'll have a look at how the taste of each of these sencha is. For sencha, it's important to brew it just for 1 minute. As the leaves are a little bit smaller, you can just brew it for 1 minute. When you go into Gyokuro or a kind of longer leaf teas, they are often good after 1.5 or even 2 minutes. So here we're gonna just take 1 minute. What is important also is that the Samidori in this case is a Fukamushi, so it's a deep steam tea. We're gonna see it strongly in the color, so it should have a little bit more intense color, but let's go and have a look at it, how this tea is in terms of color. So I bought 3 glasses also, and just move this a little bit back that you can better see the color of each tea. Like this, it's perfect. Okay, now let's go. Number 1, Samidori. So first brewing should be normal, even though it's a Fukamushi. So we already see it a little bit milky. Number 2, we have the Asanoka. It's already a little bit brighter. And number 3 then is the Okumidori. Good. So let's smell the tea leaves. Oh, here I have a strong umami. So a little bit of savory sweet corn, but there's kind of a fruity, I have a little bit of mango, I have a little bit of papaya, but a little bit deeper fruits, so kind of berry fruits. I have a little bit of strawberry as well with this tea. Then second one is the Asanoka. Let's have a look. Very different. So here we got much more of kind of a roasted flavor. I got a little bit of a wooden note. A little bit of a marroni note. So it's much more on the wooden side, much more kind of a deeper, kind of a more settled tea. Kind of seems even rounder, even though the Okomidori, I know it as a very round tea. This seems kind of, thanks to the wooden flavor and wooden notes, bringing it a little bit into a more deeper and profound smell. And here we really got a top sweetness. I got flower notes. Also this kind of, so these two teas are much closer to each other. They have, both of them have this sweet corn aroma. But here definitely we seem to have a lighter sweetness, a little bit of a creaminess to it, so a slight buttery note. While here with this one, yeah, here we have a so kind of creamy buttery note. While here we get much more of the fruit, kind of deep fruit notes. Let's see now in terms of taste. Now I'm very curious about the taste, so let's have a look. Okomidori first. Very, very, very sweet. There's a little bit of a savory note, but not too strong. It stays a lot in the fruitiness. It is now the umami, like the savory taste tones coming more in, but still. Try to figure out the fruit. So I got more of a mango fruit. There's even a little bit of butter crackers. I don't know if you know this, like these typical butter crackers. There's a little bit of this in the taste, which is very funny. And a little bit when I mix it up or I bring up the sediments, so you see the sediments of the tea. So definitely showing more of a green tone, but it is kind of a little bit of a mango fruity, but also like of this butter crackers flavor profile. So let's go into the Asanoka. So what you can see actually when you just look at the Samidori here and Asanoka is a little bit of a darker, nearly going a little bit into the roasted aroma. So let's have a look how. Also a lot of sweetness. But got a little bit of this wooden note I got. But it's much less strong than in the nose. So it disappears a little bit, but there's a slight wooden note, but it goes more into a little bit the cereally and the late summer grass note. Well, here I have much more. I got a much more rounder, sweeter mango, papaya fruitiness, which I definitely have now. Also, I got the contrast between these two teas. And there's a slight higher acidity, but it's cereally, it's wooden, but still very, very sweet. So main difference here, we definitely have a strong focus on the fruit, on the deep sweet fruity side, and here we got a little bit of a cereally kind of cereal kind of wooden note mixing in, so it's a little bit deeper in its tones. Here we have like a very well developed sweetness, here kind of a cereally, a little bit of a lower tones, a little bit of darker tones maybe, but still there's a lot of sweetness also in this tea, but you just have this cereally and darker tones swinging with it. And now I'm curious to see how the Samidori is gonna be like. definitely the strongest in the savory taste profile. Wow, here we really got a umami bomb, kind of very, very strong. And I think even due to the fukamushi kind of deep steaming, which kind of gives it more body and brings out more the sweeter tones, it's a very sweet but umami strong tea. So definitely, if you're looking for a little bit more this savory marine note, this tea here has definitely a lot of this taste profile. Mm-hmm. And it's sweet and smooth, and it's really also a little bit thicker on the in the texture of the water. It's kind of nearly a little bit syrupy kind of texture, so it glides much slower over the top of the tongue. So in terms of umami, theanine, which is the main amino acid in the tea plant, here we definitely have it here very present. So if you're looking for very savory but still want to not go directly into gyokuro, which might be a little bit too expensive, which also might be all too savory, here we got a nice sweetness but a well developed savory taste note, which is a kind of a mix still of a little bit the sencha. Is not this strong brothy and very thick water which you can get from the gyokuro. It's still an in between, but it goes very far in the direction. So it's still a sencha, but very close to a gyokuro tasting tea. Then Asanoka as a last sip, and a kind of a resume which I try to give here. Mm-hmm. Well, now I got much more of the smoky. It even got so it got a little bit of a smoky, cereally wooden note to the sweetness. Not a lot of green flavor profile, so it goes quite away from the typical sencha taste with a little bit this green also sweetness, but going more into a smoky, wooden, cereally note. This is how I would describe this, but still in a very sweet but not fruity flavor profile. And the okumidori, here we have a lot of fruits. It's really the mango, the papaya, even a little bit of strawberry, a sweetness, but not very savory. So here we get less of the intensity of the savory, the sweet corn, kind of a umami flavor, which is nearly a little bit brothy. Here we get much more kind of the fruit, the mango, papaya, strawberry, as I said before. So a much less intense experience in terms of the umami. So I would say when we should kind of shovel it and say how these teas are very different, I would say as a kind of a recap, this one here, very brothy, very umami rich. So there is a little bit this marine note, but still very sweet at the same time. Then Asanoka is a more of a cereally, smoky, wooden note, but still having a nice sweetness, and still being a green tea and not kind of a hochicha, which is really roasted tea, or kamairicha, which is also roasted tea. But here we really stay in the flavor profile of the sencha, but adding in a little bit of these three flavor profiles. And okumidori, definitely the most fruitiest one, sweet, bring a lot of this fruitiness with it, a little bit of umami, but staying in this sweet area and round area. So this is more or less the main difference of these three tea types. So for me, if I had to choose one today, I must say okumidori is actually the one I still prefer. I'm not too much into kind of this brothy and very strong umami flavor profile. I like a lot the sweetness and the roundness of the okumidori. It is what I like in the matcha, and it confirms itself again here in the comparison of these three teas. If you're looking for a fruity and sweet tea with a roundness and not too much of this umami taste, then the okumidori is definitely something for you. If you want to have something a little bit more exquisite, a little bit different in the sencha area, then the Asanoka with its smoky, with its cereally and a little bit wooden note, definitely also something to discover. And if you're really looking for this savory, brothy, strong sweetness of a tea, and also a little bit more of a thicker taste profile, then the Samidori is something for you. Good. I hope you like this, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you ever have any question, please don't hesitate to ask me. I'll be happy to answer them. Goodbye and see you soon.